Gunnar, he's got a good PR guy because he comes across as this all shucks old country guy. He wasn't like that when we played him. He was tough. He played with a little bit of arrogance, not in a bad way.
Yeah, I can see Gunnar talking a little trash.
Oh no, I did see Gunnar talk a little trash.
Georgia has become one of the most talent-rich states in America for high school football, and Kirby Smart has made keeping that talent home a huge part of Georgia's success. But what does the UGA's recruiting machine look like from the high school side? Today's guest has spent more than 3 decades developing athletes right here in the state of Georgia. Richard Ricketts is a damn good dog who began teaching and coaching at Prince Avenue Christian School in 1991 and became athletic director in 1996. During his tenure, Prince Avenue has developed into one of the state's most respected athletic programs, 3 state championships, and are in the top 3 to 5 in preseason rankings again this year, depending on where you shop. Richard has been named Region Athletic Director of the Year 8 times, was named the Class A Private School Athletic Director of the Year, and was inducted into the Athens Athletic Hall of Fame. So today we're going to talk Georgia football, Georgia high school talent, recruiting, NIL, and the transfer portal, and most importantly, what Kirby Smart is looking for when he comes into Georgia's high schools. Richard, welcome to Big Luke's Dog Beat.
Well, I'm happy that you had me on. I got a little tickled when you said 3 decades. That makes me sound old.
Not old, still young and going strong at Prince.
Yeah, it's a long time. It's gone by fast. It's been fun. Looking forward to doing this. It's a little different for me.
Well, we love having you. We love having your perspective. And before we get started, we'll jump into a little bit of breaking. UGA has moved up to the number 9 spot in 2027 national recruiting with 20 commits, 2 5-stars, and 6 4-stars. It's very interesting to see a lot of buzz about Jaden Wade, our 2028 quarterback commit, coming out again this week and firmly saying he's committed to Georgia. But Richard, we've seen that story before with Jared Curtis.
It's a little different world now, but I'll tell you this. One thing you don't have to worry about is don't panic with Kirby when it comes to recruiting. He's going to always, the cream always rises to the top. And that doggone partly can attract tight ends like nobody's business. He is a recruiting machine. I'm not worried about Georgia's recruiting. They're going to be just fine. And they know what they need. And sometimes we get caught up in this star, that star, and this position and that position. They know what they need. And they're looking at things for the long run, not for instant Twitter and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to be just fine. I have no doubt. And I'm not going to deny that the new world has made things different. And it does make it hard. Kids that are very committed, but when you're talking about the amounts of money and things now, it does make things different. There's no doubt about that. There are going to be hiccups, but in the long run, Georgia and Kirby are going to be just fine.
Love to hear that. The second point I have for everybody that came out after Sunday scrimmage is everybody needs to relax. If you heard the rumors that came out on last Sunday scrimmage on how sluggish the offense looked in the passing game, again, just relax. There were no pads. Defense knew the plays, and the defense always has the advantage if the calls are not changing at the line.
All my years working over there and being around here early in the year, the defense looks better than the offense. It's that way every year. It's just, that's the way it is. It takes time to get the rhythm, and I am not in the least bit concerned about Gunnar Stockton whatsoever. I'm excited that we have an experienced quarterback.
Before we get into all this Georgia talent, if you're a Dawg fan and you're enjoying what you're doing here, hit that subscribe button. It's free. It helps us grow the show, and we love hearing from you in the comments, even if you're a hater. We love the feedback, and thank you. You just put Big Luke's Dog Beat over 25,000 views, so let's keep growing it. Okay, Richard, you ready to get started?
Let's roll.
All right, Kirby's talking constantly about Mudita, the idea of taking genuine joy in someone else's success without jealousy or worrying about who gets the credit.
the togetherness, thing we talk about Mudita, love that each player has for the other guy and celebrating that success.
You've been building teams in an athletic department for 30 years. Is that kind of culture real, and how do you create it?
You know what? When I saw this, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, when I saw Kirby talk about this, it really made me excited because we don't use that word here, but probably about 15 years ago, it's really weird. I mean, I'm an old coach, but I have a soft side. There's a book by Bob Goff, and it's called Love Does. And I would make my players, we would go through this book, and it seemed silly. And at first they're like, what are we doing? But it just talks about, what it talks about is that God made us to serve others. And that's the way we're designed as human beings in God's image. And we're at our best when we worry about everybody else. And we get more out of ourselves when we work to make everybody else around us better. And that is completely opposite to our culture these days. Everything is me, portal, and everything is me. And I was really, really happy when I saw that Kirby was doing this. And I think if these kids, and it's not just in football. I mean, if you look at the stuff that's coming out there, he's trying to get football to care about softball and volleyball and vice versa. And he's trying to make the whole institution care about each other. It's going to make everybody better. And Kirby's a pretty smart guy. I'm really excited. And if the kids buy into this, that is not just a little term they're going to throw out. I think if they'll really buy into it, it'll be something to really impact the university.
Our viewers probably do not know that you were on staff with Ray Goff and when Coach Dooley was there. So share a little bit about that.
That was a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of people, got to see how things work inside and out, and work my fanny off. I can tell you that. And, it's fun seeing how things at the highest level are done, and created a lot of relationships for a long time. So things have changed a lot. Facilities are a lot different, and I think kids are a lot bigger, a lot faster, even than they were back then. And, the level of what goes in to making a really good program now, it's really changed, but good old football hadn't changed, though. It's fun to think about those days, though.
One step ball is snapped. It's about who can tackle and who can score. Let's talk about the recruiting at Georgia. Let's talk about the guys Dawgs fans are going to be watching this fall. Georgia's roster is loaded with kids who played high school football right here in the state. I'm going to throw some names at you. You add whatever you want, but tell me what you remember about them or what made them special. You got to start with Gunnar Stockton. I know you saw him up in Rayburn.
Gunnar, I'm going to be honest with you. Gunnar, he's got a good PR guy because he comes across as this all shucks, old country guy. And he wasn't like that when we played him. He wasn't afraid to show, he was tough. He was very tough. I just remember the first time I saw him when we played him, I was like, he has running back thighs. But he played with a little bit of arrogance, to be honest with you. Not in a bad way. But, he doesn't come across like that now. But he was not afraid to tell you. And just tough. He's just a tough kid and a leader. So he was really fun to play against. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I could see Gunnar talking a little trash in some of these games this year. So
I did see Gunnar talk a little trash.
Love it. KJ Bolden, that whole Buford machine. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, what do you say? KJ's just, he and Tyreek, those kids are just special. I mean, just special. I don't know how else to say it. Hadn't been around them a bunch, but NFL talent, and it's just, you can see it all over them.
Well, I've had people tell me that Ty Boogie may end up being that other safety by the year end, or at least one of the regular nickelbacks. So they're real high on him coming up too.
He'll be on the field a lot.
Yeah. That Buford program gets them ready. Kaiden Prothro out of Bolden.
Saw him a little bit. One of the most impressive looking kids you'll ever see. I just, when I saw him, I'm like, boy, in the offense that Prince Avenue has, boy, would I have loved to have seen that kid. He's kind of a hidden gem. Their offense was not like throw happy, and all that kind of stuff. This kid's going to be special. He is uber talented, and he passes the sight test, I promise you.
Yeah, and you'll see him probably in that power slot just to get him on the field. Is again like Ty Boogie. How do we get him on the field? How do we get him the ball? But That tight end room so stacked. Elijah Griffin out of Savannah Christian.
Well, I mean, that kid, like, obviously he's in our class and we've seen him, and I was super impressed with him last year. And I think that kid is going to end up being an anchor for the Georgia defense. There is no doubt. That guy he is a stud. He's got it all. Good, strong hands, good feet, plays low and rips through. I mean, he's going to be fun. He's just going to get better and better, too. I mean, he was a baby last year. He's going to be something to deal with.
Yeah, I believe they got him. A lot of these kids they got in the weight room, and they blew them up over the offseason, so they were ready. Zaki Helton out of Carrollton.
Dynamic. I don't know. I'm just thinking of words because we could talk about these kids. Just dynamic athlete. Dynamic.
Do you see him starting, Richard?
You know, this is what I think. There's so much more to what Georgia does than just putting the best dudes out there. There is such a mental part of this game and knowing every aspect of what they're doing that it takes a little while to prove that and earn that trust of the coaching staff, which is what I think makes Georgia a little different. But yes, I do see them on the field. Yes.
Richard, there's a ton of kids from right in your backyard out of North Oconee. Cahill Barnes, Landon Rowland, Kamari Brooks. Tell us a little about that North Oconee program and these kids.
Well, you know, they started football right about the same time we did. And it's, you know, their progression is sort of similar to ours. And probably a big part of that is our community. It's a great community with great families, obviously good resources in Oconee County, good and, you know, very good education. I've been watching Khalil Barnes since he was a little kid, Landon Rowland, and then Kamari Brooks he's a sneaky good kid. He's I mean, obviously he stuck out like a sore thumb in high school football. I do think year 2 and 3, he's going to be a massive contributor for Georgia. I really do.
Brooks is one of those sleepers you may start hearing a lot about at the end of the year. Like you said, going into next year, but he's someone to make sure you circle and watch, especially these first 2 games.
Super good kid, just a great kid to be around.
All right, Richard. So when Kirby walks into the building, he's looking for high school. He's coming in the helicopters, and I know you have a lot of coaches that come into Prince. When you see one of these kids at 16 or 17-year-olds, what tells you he's an SEC player?
Well, SEC players, the first thing is when you walk in a stadium, you usually notice them. They usually stick out. I mean, when you go to a high school game and you think a kid is an SEC caliber kid, usually you watch 5 minutes, 10 minutes of football, and you're like, this kid's different than everybody else out here. They usually stick out. You know, whether it be size, whether it be speed, both, they usually stick out. I mean, SEC is the elite. I don't care what anybody says. It's the elite conference. And in Georgia, sometimes it's hard to stick out because there are so many doggone good football players in the state of Georgia, but SEC kids stick out.
So when Kirby walks in your building, he's looking at a player. What is he asking? What is he asking the coach? What is he asking you that the fans would never think about?
You know, what people don't think about is, and what we hear, not only Kirby, but most coaches when they come in, they want to know, they'll just cold ask you a lot, what kind of kid is this kid? Good kid, you know. They do their homework. They want to know leadership skills. They want to know if they're a discipline problem. They want to know what family life is like. They want to know what work ethic is like. They want to know what the academics, they want to know the total package. Because if you're a really, really good player, but you don't have work ethic or you don't have leadership skills or you're a drag on the team or, you know, you've got the wrong mentality as far as coaches are very concerned about those things. And I think probably Kirby is a little more, if you want my honest opinion. I think that work ethic and toughness, they want to know that stuff. They definitely want to know.
Can you remember a player you saw in high school where you immediately thought, that kid is different? And I think you said it earlier that when you walk into the stadiums, you see it, but is there someone that just really stands out to you?
The most recent one, and you're not going to like the answer I'm about to give here. The most recent one is the Jacobs kid at Blessed Trinity. That kid, and he's committed to Ohio State, which, man, when I heard that, I was like, oh, gone. because we played that kid the last 2 years, and he is a dude, and he does not take plays off. He has all those tools: size, speed, reach, hand. Like, he is a wreaker of havoc, so to speak. And be nice if he changed his mind and stay closer to home. He stuck out like a sore thumb. Another one that pops in my head is that we played several years in a row, and probably in one of the greatest football games I've ever been a part of, is Keaton Mitchell, that's playing now for the Baltimore Ravens. He played for Elka, and he and Brock Vandegrift went back and forth. I think it was like a 60-56 game in the playoffs. I think that was Brock's junior year, Keaton's senior. And I'm telling you, Keaton was the fastest football player I'd seen on the football field. He was fun to watch. And then one from a little bit longer back that just kind of took games over was Miko Hardman. I mean, that cat just forgets schemes and all this stuff. Just give Miko the ball and just see what happens. I mean, just like drawing in the sand. And you could not stop that kid. He was fun to watch.
Those are three great names. I got to ask you this question because the listeners would love to hear it. I think I've heard you tell it before. Talk about how many coaches you may have in the office recruiting at a time and how they all come together.
You know, it's the time of the year. The spring is when it really pops, and it's really interesting to see. There are days when it's just, it depends on what kind of kids you got, you know, obviously, but there are days when it's pretty funny. I mean, it's just one right after another. Funny story, last year we have a running back that's decent, and Dabo was here, and as he was leaving, Shane Beamer was walking in. You know, that's South Carolina, Clemson. And it was interesting watching them. You know, these coaches they all get along. It's a brotherhood. Yeah, it's fun. You know, some of them are more flashy in how they come in with helicopters and that kind of stuff. And some of them just kind of come in and are low key. And it's just interesting to see how the different approaches to how they do things. But spring is when it's the busiest, as far as like having assistant coaches and head coaches come by.
That's cool. So this is a discussion I know everybody's having, is the NIL and portal discussion. Richard, is the transfer portal actually hurting Georgia high school recruiting?
It's yes and no. You know, you've got your 4 or 5 stars, even your upper level 3 stars. I mean, those kids are going places. They're going places. I would say if you're a bubble kid, it delays or slows down the process sometimes, depending on what's going on with the portal. And then, you know, the difference now is it's a little more last minute a lot of times for those bubble kids, just because people are just doing roster management and that kind of stuff. And they're also trying to balance their budget. It's, you know, how much can they pay in the NIL and what they get and don't get in the portal and that kind of thing. So I don't see it as much with Georgia. I'm not a huge fan of all this stuff. I'm not going to lie to you. I guess I'm old. I don't mind players getting paid. I think that's a good thing. I do think we need some caps and some limits and some stuff like that. But, you know, I do take a little pride. I do think Georgia is trying to balance this a little bit. It's not reload the whole roster every year and that kind of stuff. And I appreciate that about Georgia. And quite frankly, I'm not sure financially we can do as much as some of these other schools. So, you know, our formula is working, and I don't think it's going to quit working, to be honest with you. I think that right now we have staff in there that develops very well, and they get the kind of kids that are going to be patient and go through the process and see the end benefit rather than the instant benefit.
Well, I love Georgia's philosophy of build and supplement.
You know, it's a little different now, because one thing that I started noticing this year more and more is really not coaches coming to recruit, but basically every school has different names for them, but it's basically their business, their money guy. High-level kids now know how bad a school wants them based on what their offer is when these people come in. And so that's very different. If you're being recruited by 2 schools, you know which one wants you more, because this school may have a higher need for this position. So their business guys are coming in and saying, this is what you're going to get, and it's more than this school because the need's higher. So you're going to see a little more of that. That's for sure. And that's very, very different.
Well, it's that general manager role.
I mean, that's what most of them are called now. And, you know, walk around and I'll bounce in the field house, and I'm not up there all the time. Introduce myself, and what position do you coach? Well, I don't coach. I'm the general manager. So that's just, man, that's so foreign to me. It's just, It's just so different than how it used to be. But that's how kids know. And some of them are willing to take less to get to where they want, that kind of thing. But that's how it works nowadays.
Well, before we move on, Richard, I've got to get into my business side. I got to recognize my sponsor, and I want to thank our sponsors, White and Choate Law Firm in Cartersville, Georgia. White and Choate is a full-service law firm representing businesses and individuals throughout North Georgia and Metro Atlanta, including personal injury victims and those dealing with work-related accidents. Go see Harry, Jay, and Lottie, all damn good dogs for your legal needs. And remember, maximize your opportunity and minimize your risk with White and Choate. And tell them Big Luke sent you. And so, Richard, let's go to Prince Avenue. Like I said, you've been there for a while. You've had a front row seat to some incredible athletes and watched a lot of these kids go from high school players to players at the next level. I don't want to just give you a list of names. I want you to tell us who are some special kids you've seen come out of Prince Avenue now in the college ranks.
I mean, we've been fortunate to have some, especially in the last few years. And it varies. There are some kids playing at Mercer and Sanford and places like that. I just think about where they were when they were in middle school here. It's like I used to tell my kids, I'm not worried if you make straight A's. What I'm worried about is if you're doing the best you can in your classes. Well, seeing these kids playing at whatever level it is, that they're doing the best they can. And they have absolutely maximized the talent level that they were given by God, and they're thriving there. Obviously, Brock Vandergriff was a great kid, super strong leader, just like the kind of kid you would want your daughter, to marry, but uber talented and ultra competitive. Then his successor, Philo, somehow takes the standard and even raises it even higher. And just thinking of his progression and seeing how he worked and realizing that he had talent. I'll never forget Aaron Philo's first start in high school. He started in Savannah against Calvary Day, a really good football team, as a sophomore. And he threw 4 picks, and somehow we still had a chance to tie the game. At the end of the game, he came up just short. And I'll never forget our coach standing out on the field. Aaron was a little snotty-nosed, 10th grader that just, felt like he had cost us a game, and he's all teary-eyed. And coach just stops him. He's like, "Aaron, are you crying?" And he's like, "Aaron, you didn't play good enough to cry." And then thinking about him in his last game of his career in the state championship, winning the state championship, and breaking Trevor Lawrence's record, just seeing where he came from there to there. So Philo is a really fun one, super good kid. It's hard for me with him being a Gator now, but I'm going to pull for that kid because I'm telling you, they don't make kids much better than that kid. And then we got another one down there right now, Bailey Stockton, that is an undersized receiver that is really lighting it up down there. Boy, in high school, that kid showed so much instinct. And, we've got Christian Garrett that will be starting defensive tackle for Tech this year, that just grew from a slow, plunk kid into a monster and just working. And, and so just watching these kids, the beauty of my job is I get to see them when they're little and seeing the progression. That's just so fun.
Well, October 31st, Halloween night, everybody circle it because we'll see the Aaron Philo show in Atlanta. Is Buster Faulkner comes in with that offense, and I think you will see a show. We'll see how good our secondary and safeties are in that game, won't we, Richard?
We will. Aaron he's a bright kid. He'll absolutely have his work cut out playing the Georgia defense and playing the rest of the SEC. But yeah, those games are super fun to watch. But when you have kids that you feel like you're a part of their lives, when you're watching them in those kind of games, quite honestly, it's a little stressful.
Well, he is special. Now, Richard, let's bring it back to the Dawgs. When you look at this team heading into this season, how do you see Georgia stacking up, and what position room excites you the most?
I'm going to be honest with you. I really like the front 7 on D. I really do. I think there's a little bit of depth there, a little bit of experience. And then I really, really like the offensive line a lot. And to me, that's where football begins. And if you're good at those 2 places, you're going to end up having a good year. If injuries don't get us, I really think that the defensive front 7 and the offensive line are going to be really, really a big, big piece of what Georgia does this year.
Spoken like a true football coach. You love those line of scrimmages. What position room will concern you, Richard?
I don't have a ton of concern. I do think they've gotten a lot more depth now at defensive back, it seems to me. Running back, we might be a little shallow there. We had an off-field injury. I'm not concerned about it, though. The one position that I always worry about the most is quarterback. Gunner's got to stay healthy, and Gunnar plays with reckless abandon. I mean, he is willing to give up his body for his teammates. Would really like to see Gunnar stay healthy all year. I do think that's important. We have a lot of talent, but I just know how that position works. When you change quarterback, Gunnar's got the experience, and what you want to always have is an experienced quarterback that has seen things under fire, and I just want Gunnar to stay healthy.
Yeah, and for you Georgia fans out there, and I know, Richard, you'll be looking, I want to see what the two Ryans do in the first two games. They should get a lot of reps because Gunnar's going to get nicked up somewhere just the way he plays. Hopefully it's not more than a couple of series. But I want to see who's going to step up as the backup, or we're going to have to go in the portal next year. So I'm going to be interested to see that. I love the kid out of Athens, too, if he can get on the field.
Yeah, agree. Man, when it comes to quarterback, the playbook is 18 inches high, and you're seeing hybrid defenses and changes, and you've got to get offensive line and the right call and protections and 90,000 people, and there's just no substitute for having the experience under fire, of being able to do those things. And it makes coaches sleep better at night, I promise you, when they have quarterbacks that they know are very comfortable in those situations. That's why I would say keep that quarterback healthy.
Amen. Well, Richard, let's do some rapid fire to wrap it up. Best Georgia high school player you've ever seen?
Woo, that's a hard one. You know what? I'm going to say Miko Hardman.
Great answer.
I'm going to say just because he was different. I mean, he was just, he did a little of everything. I mean, he was the team. It was just crazy.
Best high school football atmosphere in Georgia?
Ooh, you know what? We played down at Mary Persons a few years ago. And to me, that stadium, Dan Pitts, all the stuff, that was a really fun place to play.
Player you had at Prince?
Ooh, I'm not touching that one. We're really blessed. We're blessed. And we've got obviously several kids that I'm really proud of.
I'm going to go Aaron Philo. Anybody can break
You won't be wrong.
Record. Most underrated trait in a recruit?
Leadership.
NIL, good or bad for high school football?
High school football, I'm going to say bad and good. Like, there's so many misconceptions about that. So we've had a few kids over the years get NIL, but I'm going to be honest with you, it was not anything related to high school. It's more related to what's coming in college. So I think it's silly, in my opinion. I mean, we're high school students. We need to be learning. We need to be in a classroom worried about stuff.
Is the portal good or bad for college football?
Good with limits.
Georgia's strongest position room?
Offensive line.
Love it. All right, Georgia's record.
Whew. I think we're going to lose one in the regular season. Don't ask me which one. It's just the SEC with its schedule now. It's just, I mean, some of the back-to-backs, it's a gauntlet. And now with the playoff system like it is, you just can't panic. Even if you lose two, honestly, you can't panic. You just got to try to be healthy and playing your best at the end of the year.
Amen. And one Georgia high school player Dawg fans should watch this year.
Sophomore quarterback at Prince Avenue, Gavin Holland. We've been really blessed, and this kid, watching him since he was in kindergarten here, like, this kid has got some talent, and I think he's going to end up being a really good player for us, and I think he's got a bright future after us.
We will be watching for him, and I want to tell you good luck this season. I know you open up next weekend. Is it Thompson?
Thompson High School's coming up here, so we're looking forward to that. And another year.
That's nothing better than high school football. And Richard, this has been great. You gave our Dawg fans a perspective we don't always get what Georgia football and recruiting looks like from the high school side. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll definitely be pulling for Prince Avenue this season. And to everyone watching, if you're a Dawg fan, make sure you subscribe to Big Luke's Dawg Beat. We're on Spotify and YouTube. Hit that like button, drop us a comment, and tell us which Georgia high school player you're most excited to watch in Athens this year. Richard, there's always one way we can finish this thing, is always go
Go Dogs.
Dogs.
Thanks for having me on.